Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video. Actually, this is another DC news video to be more specific. There's just been a couple of different pieces over the past, about a week or so, roughly, give or take a couple of days to talk about that are worth talking about. We're going to go over like the main five things, roughly, that, at least in my eyes, the main five things that are worth talking about. There's some other stuff that's come out that's sort of like just been attached to other things that might have been previously talked about, but they're also like a bit weak. Like they just could be a load of BS, if you know what I mean. So I thought I'd go over the stuff that's actually pretty relevant and said by more credible people. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below, your various thoughts on all this stuff. I'm always curious where you guys are thinking. I'm sure you have different opinions. Well, maybe. Maybe not on everything, but yeah, let me know your opinions and thoughts in the comment section down below. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, I want to show support, drop a like on the video. It takes 2 seconds. So the first thing I'm going to go over is maybe the biggest thing of the week that's new, if you want to put it, because there's another thing that's pretty big, but it's more continuing on something that was reported about a week ago, last week roughly. So the first thing is in regards to this thing that I thought was cancelled. Like, I think a lot of people thought it was cancelled or just forgotten about and just hadn't been properly announced, I guess. And that is that the J.J. Abrams Elseworlds Superman project is not cancelled and it's still in development. That's coming from James Gunn, sorry. That's coming from him, which sort of surprised me to an extent because so many of the other Elseworlds things are in development and just stuff that didn't strictly connect with his thing were just sort of scrapped, just thrown away. Like whether it was the Justice League Dark stuff, which was also J.J. Abrams related, Zatanna, constant, like all the stuff that was really, really connected to J.J. Abrams, funnily enough, were just scrapped, but this one's still going. And of course, this is the Black Superman one, the thing that everyone's just calling the Black Superman movie, which is by Ta-Nehisi Coates. He was writing, hopefully I pronounced that name correctly. I always am a bit unsure whether I pronounced it right or wrong. And this was going to be like, it was said it was going to be Clark Kent, but he was black, but I think it was meant to be around something around I think it might have been something around the civil rights era or something like it's almost like, because it's Elseworlds. So it's like a what if, Superman was black and was in this and how it would affect it. That was a rumor. I don't know if that was ever really confirmed. But we just knew that it was a black Superman and it was most likely Clark Kent. And then we also had the Val Zod project, which was a different project, and that was going to be produced and potentially starring Michael B. Jordan, which I think that is the one that's completely gone. But then again, who knows? Things might rise from the grave as we go into the next year or two when they need more DC stuff to make, maybe. Now, just because it's not cancelled at this point doesn't mean it's going to happen. We could get 2 months later and it's cancelled. And it wouldn't surprise me too much if it's quote unquote still in development, mainly due to contract stuff. But then again, all the other stuff that J.J. Abrams was doing got scrapped. So maybe they're just thinking because it is Superman, maybe it's still worth tying into, and also because it's going to be very different than what James Gunn is doing with Superman Legacy. So maybe they're just waiting to see how it fleshes out. Maybe James Gunn has a look at it and sees whether it's worth doing, but I wouldn't count on it happening, but you never know. The next thing of interest is that we did have the Oscars get their nominations over the past week or so, but we also had the Razzie Awards give out their nominations. They award the worst of the worst, if you want to put it, while the Oscars reward the best of the best. Well, the most prestigious in the Razzies would, of course, be Worst Film, and we had the 5 nominations for that. And Shazam 2 was one of the ones in the top 5, which is weird to me because it's not the worst DC movie of the year. That's Aquaman 2. That's the worst one. I think easily, in my opinion. So I was a bit surprised with that. I can't remember who else was in there, what other movies were in there, that there was some bad ones. I don't think Shazam 2 is winning that category anyway, but it was in there. But I was surprised that Aquaman 2 wasn't. The only thing I can think of is that if they go by the same rules, I don't know why the Razzies would go by rules, but if they go by the same rules as the Oscars, we have to come out by a certain point, and maybe Aquaman hadn't come out by a certain point because it did come out in the middle of December, so maybe that's why. But anyway, if it was eligible, I think Aquaman 2 should have been in there over Shazam 2, though I don't think either of them are in the top 5 worst movies of the year. There's been some absolute stinkers. But anyway, I don't think anyone really takes the Razzies too seriously. Now, though the next thing wasn't definitely, I think that's English, but it definitely wasn't the biggest news of the week. It's probably the most interesting one to me, just because I'm interested to see where it goes and what different variations there could be of it. But Warner Brothers Games, or WB Games as it's more officially known as, it's been revealed that they're actively working with James Gunn on DCU connected games. This was reported by the Hollywood Reporter, I think it was, in a big thing they did about how Warner Brothers is going to use video games to really try and make money off a lot of their franchises like Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, DC, Lord of the Rings, all those various things like that. But yeah, in that article, it talked about how like Warner Brothers Games is now actively working with James Gunn specifically on connected games to the DCU. But it's also stated in that thing that Warner Brothers Games is not obligated to make every game that's DC related connected to the DCU. So that means there'll be like Elseworlds games, if you want to put it, like we're getting with like Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League and any other games that come out like that. So there will still be those type of games, but then there's also going to be the ones that are actually connected to the DCU. So it's going to be very interesting to see what that means, because like I'd assume like if they do Elseworlds ones, it'd be like big properties that maybe they're already planning. But then again, it could also be some like more niche stuff, or just like things that like would go on for like not live service ones, but things that would get DLC that could be playable for 3 to 4 years actively, while something that's connected to the DCU might only be like really like a single player experience, but be like a lot of game time at the same time. So that's probably like a watch this space, but that was the most interesting thing in regards to like news for this week, at least in my opinion. And the second final thing, hopefully it's still relevant by the time this video comes out, because I'm making this a bit later than I normally would. I've had the news for a bit like written down to talk about, but I've been busy. So hopefully it's still relevant. Nothing's changed, so I think it's still relevant, but knowing my luck, like they'll probably change it the day this video goes up. But we got an update for the Supergirl casting, which we now know will be in Superman Legacy. It was confirmed that the character will now show up in Superman Legacy. It's been tossed up whether it's a cameo or whether it's just like a guest appearance like some of the other characters, because James Gunn has said there is no cameos in Superman Legacy. Or at least he's like suggested that none of the characters are going to be cast. They're just going to show up and say hello and then fly away. So I guess there's like at least a scene or two, like at least more than one scene most likely with Supergirl, if that's the case, if she's going to be in Superman Legacy. But about a week ago, we found out that there was 3 finalists, or there was 3 names that they were chucking out, and maybe there was some other people involved as well. One of those was Emilia Jones, and now we know that she's not a part of it anymore. She's out there. She's not out there. She's just out of the running for whatever reason that might have been. Might have been scheduling, might have been terms and conditions about like pay or length of contract. I'm not too sure. But we now know the 2 finalists are Millie Alcock, who is my favorite and my personal pick to get. I think she just suits especially what Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow specifically as a film will be. I think she'd be the much better choice for specifically that film. And then there's also Meg Donnelly, who is, out of the 3 that were announced, she was my least favorite out of them. And obviously, because there's only 2 left, she's obviously the least favorite out of the 2. Now, she's, in a lot of people's eyes, has the upper hand, because she's already voiced Supergirl in the Tomorrowverse, might I say, animated films, which I don't think necessarily means too much. But both of the actresses of Millie Alcock and Meg Donnelly are within the Warner Brothers system already. Millie with Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, and Meg Donnelly with those Supergirl animated things. And also she was in that Winchester CW show as well, which only got 1 season. But I don't know if people liked it or not. I didn't watch it because I didn't watch Supernatural, so I didn't really have any connection to that show either. But yeah, so I'm not too sure, like, within Warner Brothers, who would be the favorite there. I have a feeling, though I think Millie Alcock is clearly the best choice, I have a feeling James Gunn will probably go with Meg Donnelly, and that's not necessarily criticism to say that James Gunn doesn't pick the right actors, but pretty much throughout this entire casting process, outside of Superman and Lois, he's gone with unorthodox choices. However, the ones where there's been a casting call where we've known multiple names, he's picked the best option. The only one that's debatable is Nicholas Hoult, but we don't know what the situation was in regards to those other actors that were involved, whether they were actually like in the final thing, or Nicholas Hoult was the only one that really went for the final sort of, stage of it. Like everything was accepted and everything like that. We don't know. But with Superman and Lois, for Superman Legacy, I think he picked the 2 best candidates out of that group. So hopefully he picks the best candidate here, which hopefully is Millie Alcock. But that's a wait and see. They start filming in like just over a month, like 5-6 weeks or something like that. So she'd probably they'd have to cast her around now, most likely, depending on when they'd film those Supergirl scenes in that film. But then again, it could be, announced behind closed doors, and then it takes 2 weeks for it to hit the press or something like that. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's Millie Alcock, because I think she's the best choice. Though at the same time, I'd be probably fine with Meg Donnelly. I'm not against it, but it's just like I have a preference here. And the final thing to talk about is that James Gunn did say that Creature Commandos will release first, as it was ready to go and will serve as like a bit of like a taste tester, if you want to put it, for not only like the DCU as a whole, but also Superman Legacy as well, which doesn't necessarily mean it sets up Superman Legacy, but it might mention certain things within the universe that are like minor things, nothing of great importance, but just sort of say, hey, this is set in that world, and maybe here's something that will be mentioned in Superman Legacy in like a minor way, but not of great importance, where you have to watch Creature Commandos to understand Superman Legacy. And this really just came from someone asking, like, is there like a specific reason why Creature Commandos has to come out first? Like, does it set up Superman Legacy, or does it set up something else? Does it set up Peacemaker Season 2? And he was like, no, just it was ready to go, so why not release it then? It's animated. I think if this was going to be live action, it wouldn't have come out first, but it's an animated show, which they just tend to have less viewers, so it will have less viewers than if it was live action, so not as many people will watch it as, say, like Peacemaker or something like that. So it's just one of those things to just have some fun with, and also set up some characters that will appear in live action whenever that might be later on in the DCU. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and everything we went over. I'm always curious to hear what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.